Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're gathered to do a strategic planning kickoff work session meeting. We have with us tonight our consultant, Dr. Stephanie Davis, joining us to kick us off in the right direction and give us a little bit of a presentation on strategic planning, its importance, and why we need to go through these steps for our town. This is in relation to the activity packet that was handed out to the town council last week for your homework assignment. Hopefully, everybody's had a chance to look at that. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can ask tonight. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Stephanie so she can tell you a little bit about herself and we'll get going.
Thank you, Emily. Good evening. How is everybody?
Good.
We kind of chit-chatted a little bit. I'm early to everything.
One quick question.
Yes.
Do we have a walking mic that you could have so that people could hear?
Or I can
And I
just.
guess I should be talking into a mic too, so.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to do like this.
You can carry it if
Okay,
you want.
I can.
But
That's a
I
good
thought we
idea.
had a lapel mic. We didn't get one?
Yeah, it didn't work though.
Nah, okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation. It just helps to guide our conversation this evening. What I'd like to do is some introductions. I'm going to walk you all through why it's really important to think and do strategic planning, especially for small communities. I'll tell you a little bit about that. We're going to walk through the strategic planning pre-retreat packet, and then we'll talk about holding the retreat, and then we'll have any questions. So I'm going to take the liberty to introduce myself to you all. I just think it's helpful for you to know that I'm not just a PhD person. In fact, I don't really count myself as an academic. So I have undergrad from Tech, I have a master's from VCU, and I worked in Virginia local government for almost 20 years. So I served in Chesterfield County as a budget management analyst. If you know anything about counties and cities, which I'm sure you all do, there's these people called constitutional officers, and they get money from the compensation board. That was my first job out of college, was with the compensation board with the state. And then I served as a finance, HR, and IT director for Powhatan County for about 9 years. And when you hear that, what that tells you is small rural community, explosive growth in the early 2000s, and everyone is wearing a bunch of different hats. It was basically an assistant county administrator. So I think in that position really lends for me to understand small communities, and we'll talk about how that fits in with what I do at Tech. I also worked a couple years doing consulting work for what was Springstead, what is now Baker Tilly, and did a lot of work in North Carolina with cities, counties, and towns. So I actually went back to school to get my PhD. It was a goal that I had. And my interest is, and you all will laugh at this, and why I went was, why do elected officials do what they do? Why do they make the decisions that they do? And how can we help or learn, or however we want to look at that in terms of building better communities? And what I have found myself doing over the last probably 4 years, and I would really say with COVID, I was pretty productive. And what I found was had a real interest in small communities. I live in Southwest Virginia. I come from the Richmond region, and I know what it's like to have resources. And then I live in an area that has very, very few resources. So how can we help small communities build capacity? How do we define that capacity? It's either administrative, having the staff support either internal or external, financial resources. How do we build the financial resources? And then the leadership capacity. And that's your role, that you all are supporting the staff, developing your vision for your communities, and really implementing those. So I do a lot of fun stuff with cities, counties, and towns. My real kind of preference is towns. So I have worked with, I mean, I could name off all the towns The way that we do this is if it's a small enough project, then I can come and do those things on my own. Virginia Tech encourages us to do those kinds of projects. If it's a bigger kind of project, then we can pull in some graduate students and have those sorts of projects. In fact, Town Around Hill, not that far, I guess, away. I'm still trying to get my bearings. We did a utilities benchmarking survey for them in the spring. I had 2 graduate students help with that project. And the fun thing is I'm a cheap date, right? So the services you're going to get and what you'll get from me, I won't have all the bells and whistles, but it'll be a solid, good strategic plan. And that goes for any kind of project. And we really see my work is at prosum, that we are serving our communities and so that I may serve. So with all that, that's kind of my little spiel. In 2021, again, during the pandemic, I put in a proposal to the International City County Management Association on strategic planning for small communities, because we are different. And I consider myself we in that. Towns that are small, counties that are small, cities that are small, we are different from the Fairfax, from the Chesterfields, from all that, because we just don't have those resources. And so when we think about, Fairfax County doing a strategic plan, something like that's probably going to be, all sorts of processes. It's going to take forever. It's going to be very expensive. Small communities don't have to do that in order to achieve what you're trying to achieve as elected officials. And that's kind of my whole tagline is we can do something as simple as a spreadsheet. I'm not suggesting that, but I do that for some of my communities. We can do something as simple as a spreadsheet to get what you want accomplished in the amount of time that you're elected. And so that is really my goal. So I was selected as a fellow, and there's a link to that manual, but you're going to get me in person, so you don't even have to read the manual, right? I would like to hear from you all. Just a couple questions, kind of introducing why you ran for office, how long you've been on council, and maybe what you're trying to achieve out of this process. Would that be okay? Can I start with you, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I ran because there were some questionable decisions being made in the planning of the town that I didn't like. I'm not a politician in any sense. I just seemed to be one that was willing to step forward and challenge the previous mayor, and the town kind of agreed with me on my questions on the decisions being made in town. And I've been in seat ever since. I got 2 terms behind me. So.
Excellent, thank you.
So 2 terms, wanted to run because wanted to have more knowledge, more impact, and wanted to bring the community together.
Oh, yeah, good. Yes, sir.
Okay, 4 terms. This is my 4th. I think for me, it was 3 things. Transparency in whatever we do, communicating better with the community, and fiscal responsibility. Those are the 3 things that I was mainly focused on that I felt were lacking in interregnum in between times when I was on the council. And so that's why I decided to run again.
Good, thank you.
I would say, 1.5 terms? And more than anything, it's basically a give back, right? To give back to my community. It is to, in my capacity, to set the town in what I think is the right direction in terms of whatever decisions we end up making, right? Of course, I'm just one vote, right? But more than anything else, it's just to give back.
Excellent, good, thank you.
I've been serving, since 2021. I was a special ballot, kind of special election situation. I ran mostly kind of what everybody else said because I felt strongly about something that I felt wasn't at the time right. And I wanted to serve with integrity and, make choices that impacted my family and the people I care about in the community and just make the right call. Obviously one vote, my opinion, but
Excellent. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What you don't realize you all did was just come up with your values. So that was kind of cool. We will do the process, but that's what I'm hearing. How many of you have been through a strategic planning process for a public organization? You have, and when did you do that?
2014.
2014. Here?
Yes.
Yeah.
With Dr. Chandler.
Oh, there we go. That's who it was, Dr. Chandler.
Yeah.
Okay, the mayor was talking about that. I think we all, any consultant that will do strategic planning is basically going to do the same thing, right? We're going to come up with a mission. We're going to come up with your vision or establish your values. We'll develop some goals, and then we're going to come up with some short-term action items to achieve those goals. And you don't have to write that down because I'm going to go through all that like a million times, but they're all basically the same. My process tends to be a little bit different. So, and again, we'll go through this. I try to streamline it. That's all there is to it. You all are busy. It is a small community. The more work that I can do ahead of our retreat, and we'll talk about when we like to do that retreat, the better. And I really feel like the councils that I've worked with, the towns I've worked with, really appreciated the streamlining and the work that's done before the retreat. And we'll talk a lot about that. But you all really appear very, very supportive of the strategic planning process and the need for a strategic plan. I will tell you that is actually unusual. In many towns, and I say this because I work with a lot of them, we will have elected officials that say, we don't need a strategic plan. I know what my citizens want. I see them in the grocery store. I see them on the street because you are small. You are, face to face a lot. Even then, I still think you need some kind of guidance that the entire council agrees on. So let me just say, please stop me. I get to going, right? And I get excited about this stuff and I just get to talking. So please stop me if you need to, if you have any questions. So why do strategic planning? So a couple of you said, and maybe more, transparency. I ran to be on the board to get better decision-making and those kinds of things. A strategic planning document and that activity, that strategic plan is going to provide you an accountability tool, a communication tool, and a prioritization tool. And we'll talk about those kind of individually. As an accountability tool, and this is the quotes you'll see are from that report. That survey, I did both interviews and surveys and started with Virginia managers or deputy managers. So you'll see a lot of your sister communities in Virginia as quotes. So Deputy City Manager, City of Falls Church said, we use the strategic plan as an accountability tool in the managers and deputies annual evaluation. From my survey, 94% of local governments agreed the strategic plan provides clear guidance on the goals of the governing body to the manager. So what will happen is you will be able to sit down with Emily and staff and however y'all do that and say, this is what we want to accomplish this year. And she has a list. This is what you want to accomplish. Can you imagine having 7 bosses? Everybody wants something different, and no one has decided what exactly we're going to do. So it's also.
I'm like, can you imagine that?
Hypothetically, can you imagine? So this will provide Emily with guidance from you all on what's important, what are the things that she needs to do, and it's also an accountability tool for you that you're able to say, this is what we want you to do. And so that is, really one of the benefits as an accountability tool. As a communication tool, so I had the town of Ashland town manager say, for new council members, the strategic plan is really helpful. What that meant and you all understand this, if there's a turnover in the elected official positions, the manager, the mayor, whoever can say, here is where we are as town council. And I will talk to you about, okay, now that you have new members, how do we update this? When do we update this? Those kinds of things. But it at least says, as a full council, this was our unified voice, and this is what we were trying to accomplish. 91% of the folks from the survey agreed the strategic plan is also used as a communication device for staff. Again, it's not just Emily, it's staff within the organization, and I know you all are small. It's a small staff, but it still provides staff with the knowledge of this is what council is trying to accomplish and why. Remember how I told you kind of at the beginning, I would go, why did the Board of Supervisors do that? It doesn't make any sense. A strategic plan will at least provide some level of clarity and transparency. Y'all said that in the decisions that you're making. And then 81% of the folks in this survey agreed that the strategic plan is used as a communication device for residents. Again, you have citizens, they may have called you today and said, what the heck are y'all doing? Why did y'all make that decision? You can actually say, listen, this is a goal of the council, and this is one of the things that we were trying to accomplish, and that is why that decision was made. They might not like it, you might not have agreed with it, but in some ways it does provide you cover. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And I mean that in the nicest way, that if you have citizens saying, look, why are y'all doing these sorts of things? You can point to the plan. And that is one explanation of the decisions that council has made.
Right.
Oh, yes, I'm
And I
sorry.
was going to just add to that.
Please.
That's a really good reason why you want to have community involvement on the front end and the input. And I remember reading your report that you did, I think, down at Abington. And you were talking about the different levels of community involvement. So that was going to be one of my questions tonight. What level are we going to be doing here as we go forward?
Okay. I'm going to hold that. Yep.
I would also say that it provides unity and messaging.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you said what I was trying to say so
Yeah,
much
it
clearer.
provides unity in our messaging.
Yep.
One for all and all for one.
So can we talk a little bit about community involvement? The way that we have the strategic plan process set up is that the information you're filling out in that packet is coming to me. I'm going to aggregate all of that information. We'll meet at your retreat, and you'll be able to say, here's our new mission, vision, values, goals, and strategies. The question is, how are you going to provide that to your citizens? So if, how do I want to say this? It is not, this process at this time is not set up for citizen input at the beginning. It is really set up for citizen input at the end. So I'll come back with a document. The council will look at that document, make any draft, any revisions to the draft, and then you all could put it on your website. You could put it on social media. You could put it in the town hall and say, please give us your feedback. So that's kind of how this project has been set up. Do I have consensus with the council on that?
Mhm.
Okay, I just want to make sure. We'll go back over that as we go through the PowerPoint, but we'll go back through that. Prioritization tool. So it's funny because, as you all know, one of the biggest responsibilities, I would say, is to adopt a budget and a CIP, right? And that can be pretty challenging when you've got to potentially raise taxes or raise rates or whatever it might be, or you just can't fund everything. The strategic plan is going to help you prioritize what's most important during your budget and CIP process. I will tell you, I worked for a board of supervisors that did not want strategic planning. They didn't like it. They didn't want it, but we made them prioritize at the very beginning of the budget process. So it really was strategic planning. We didn't call it that. And what we would do when we started the budget process, we would say, what are your priorities? And then we would look to fund it. And as we went through the budget process, we would start. and say, the board has included this. This is one of your priorities. And if they wanted to change it, they could. If they wanted to leave it in, they knew why they were leaving it in. So with a strategic plan, you're going to be able to say to the staff, we definitely want to do this. We want to fund that because it's a priority of the council. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right. I love the quote, if you don't prioritize council, prioritize everything, and that can't be done. Y'all probably know that. This is just really kind of a summary. There are just a lot of benefits to doing a strategic plan. We've talked about it. It's an accountability tool, it's a communication tool, and it's a prioritization tool. And I will talk about how we use it once you have it. What we're going to be working on is a mission for the town. We're going to come up with your vision for the town, and we'll talk about that. We'll develop some values that guide the decision-making of council. We'll come up with some broad kind of long-range goals, and we'll come up with some short-term action items to achieve those goals. Ooh, can't see that at all. Can y'all make that bigger? Or
We have it on.
you have it on your, perfect. So what, hold on, I'm gonna carry this with me. So, and please refer back to this PowerPoint if you need to, when you go to fill out your package. The strategic plan components, we're answering the question, what do we do today? The vision is going to be, what do we want our community to look like in 10 to 15 years? What is it that the council wants to be when you grow up, right? That this is how we want to talk about our town in 10 to 15 years. The values are those adjectives really on what guides your decision making. And like I said earlier, you said some of those: transparency, accountability. The goals are going to be, what are the goals? And we'll talk about those that we need to achieve this vision. Everything is leading back to this vision. And then what are some things that we have to do now? Goals are going to be 3 to 5 years. Strategies or these action items are going to be 1 to 2 years. And guess what? Those strategies are what you will probably fund in your budget, in your upcoming budget process. That's a spoiler. Yes, sir.
So when it comes to mission, in addition to what do we do today, could it also be what we should be doing today?
So I think that's a really, really good question. I think you should take the time to think about that question, is what we should be doing today. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more, and you'll see some examples in your packet. But if you feel like what you do today operationally needs to be expanded, we might just have to play around with that a little bit. We might just have to play around with that a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
So I would ask for clarification. Are you asking operationally or in a different context as far as doing?
I don't know if it's necessarily tied to operationally, right?
The mission states that what the local government does now. So basically what this
Programs.
means is that what we're currently doing is what we should be doing all along, right? That doesn't, I don't know if that makes sense to me, right?
Right.
Meaning it makes it seem as if what we're doing today is the best that we're doing, right? Or the best that we could be doing. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I'm looking at it from that perspective.
Okay.
I think your vision, I think your vision is what do you want to be doing? What is the vision for your town and your community? And that's where you'll put kind of, this is how I see us. What you do today, you are a town that provides general government services, and you are focused on the efficient and effective delivery of services to your citizens. Or we are a vibrant community that has a lot of amenities. We'll see some examples about that. So really think about what it is you are today, and then that vision is going to be what you're going to want to be. Okay?
Yeah, kind of like our mission is to be transparent, Our vision is communications. Values will be, how do we communicate to them? Goals would be, for instance, what we're trying to put in place now. We've invested money to get a consultant to refurbish our website. We gave money to try this GovGov program. All these communication streams that were going out, that kind of trickles down in this process of what we're doing. We never realized we were doing it. Now we can actually organize it and actually show solid evidence to our town members how this is all doing through this strategy program that's being put in place here.
So I think the other side is, let me, if you're saying kind of what we should be doing, that's probably a goal or a strategy. So let me say that. You're probably going to have a goal related to economic development, right? Yes, absolutely. I mean, look at everything that's going on. You'll have a goal for economic development. Well, you may think we need to be doing A, B, and C. That is a strategy. So I think it depends on what you're looking at. Let's go through the packet, but everything that you're saying we should be doing something differently could be, this is what I want us to look like as a vision. It could be that this is one of the action items we need to do under a goal. It could be a broad goal, something we've never even thought about. Well, I think we should be doing public schools, right? I'm making that up and y'all can go, whoa, what is she talking about? But seriously, it's not something that you would think about, but it's something that we might want to do. You could put that as a goal. So just stay with me for a little bit and see if I answer your question in a lot of different ways. Does it make sense?
It's like a hot topic, parks and recreation, right?
I know y'all wouldn't have schools. It was just a bad example, but I just was throwing it out there.
Parks and recreation is a good one. It's a hot topic in town right now, so.
So if parks and recreation is something that you all think you need to be doing, that needs to be a goal, as long as the whole council thinks that that's a goal. And what does that look like? What are things you need to do in the next 1 to 2 years to think we need to do a Parks and Rec department? Or do you know you want that, so we want to hire a Parks and Rec director in the next 1 to 2 years? Make sense?
Or just the facilities be put in place for it, right?
Yeah, so if we're going to create a Parks and Rec department, are you going to put in a new trail, a new ball field? Are you going to put in a soccer field? Are those some of the action items to achieve that goal of Parks and Rec? And then your vision is going to include something related to recreation, that we want to have recreational amenities. I'm making it very simple.
Okay, so if we take a look at our current mission, right? Basically, based on what you stated, these are the things that
We
should
do.
conclude that these are the things that we're currently doing,
Mhm.
which I think we are, right? Basically, we should conclude that, it is what it is, meaning it's what we're
But
doing.
we'll get there. Let's keep going. Values. So what is a value? I like to do this for councils because I take any opportunity to tell people this is why we're in this business. Values are what guides the council's decision-making when something comes before you, okay? And there are basically 4 core public service values, these ones that guide the, federal, state, local, and I would even include nonprofits. So accountability and representation, that you all are elected to represent your constituents in the town. Accountability is certainly a core value, and you all have mentioned that already, right? We want to be accountable. We want to be transparent with our citizens. Efficiency and effectiveness, providing effective government services at the lowest cost. Not cheapest, not by itself. It's not all about money. It's effective. I was talking to my students the other day. I said, you could spend $50 on an after-school program, and you're not going to get any outcome achieved with $50. You could put in 50,000 and you may achieve what you're trying to achieve, but is there a balance between spending that 25,000 and still providing an effective service? And you all get this, right? But they go hand in hand. Social equity and diversity. So this is not DEI, right? This is a founding principle that says we want our government to serve our citizens no matter what they look like, no matter how much money they have, no matter anything. If you are a town of Haymarket citizen, you will be treated the same every single time. And that's what that means. Justice and individual rights. This is a concept when you all are making decisions about planning related items, or should we put the park over here, or should we put a new playground over there, that you are considering how that's impacting the community. Is it fair? Are you going to, I don't know how I want to say this. I think that's good. Is it fair and equitable in terms of justice and making sure everyone has access to services? So we'll talk about your own individual values. Typically, and I'll just tell you this, many of my communities have accountability and efficiency and effectiveness. And you all have said that, and transparency and integrity. Any questions so far? Are y'all good? Okay. So in terms of this process, so what we have to get first, and we already have, is consensus on the strategic plan development from the governing body. We have that. That's why I'm here, right? This kickoff meeting. Then we need to do pre-retreat work. And I'm going to walk you all through the pre-retreat activity packet. Then we will hold the strategic planning retreat. We'll talk about that. And then you will have a draft report, and we'll talk about citizen input on that draft report. So does everyone have access to that pre-retreat activity packet? Okay. Now I'm going to kind of come over here. So that's odd. This is my document that I give to my council and board members. It is a Word document that will adjust when you go in here to type, right? So there are spaces for you all. I'm asking for this to be emailed back to me by September 27th. That's going to give me plenty of time to aggregate all of the data so that I'm prepared for you all for your retreat. Now, each component is a separate section. So you've got developing the mission, okay? And I've told you, this is why your government exists. This is what a mission statement is. I've given you some questions to think about. What do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you serve? Why is it important? And then I've given you like 4 or 5 examples. And they're all small communities. They're villages and towns. I did have some out-of-state folks. So you can take care of that. I mean, you can look at those. And then it says council member input. That's what I want you to type. Now, do I expect you to draft formal mission statements? No. It is really up to you and the detail that you want to give me. A lot of my council members will put bullets.
Yeah.
This is what we do. We do efficient and effective services. We have a vibrant downtown, just bullets. Some will write it. It does not matter to me, however you want to do that. The main thing is just putting it all in this Word document so I have it electronically. Because once I get everyone's input, I'm going to say it fancy like I'm smarty pants. I'm going to do a content analysis, and I'm going to be looking for keywords that you all said, or the majority of you said. So many of you are going to say town and efficient and services and those kinds of things. I'm going to take that information and I'm going to draft you 3 mission statements. And when we come back together for your retreat, you're going to have those draft mission statements, and we're going to work through what is council like, not like. I will tell you, no council has ever said, yep, Dr. Davis, that's perfect. That's the one we want. I want you to be able to take your time and review it. But having your input first and aggregating all of that is going to save us a lot of time. Okay, so that is my process. You have that for your mission statement. You have that for the vision statement, exact same thing. Description of the vision statement, some questions to think about with that vision statement, and some examples. And then you have your own section, that's lovely, that you can just write. What is your vision? You can write me paragraphs, you can write me bullets, you can draw me pictures. It does not matter to me. I can, whatever works for you and your processes, I can work with it. The next thing is the values. Yep, establishing the values, same thing. Description will, I've given you some things to think about. I've given you some examples, and just give me your input. I'll aggregate all that information. So the first part of our retreat is probably going to go fairly quickly because we'll have a lot of agreement on these sorts of things. And then I want you to start thinking about goals. The problem is it's really hard to decipher the difference between a goal and an action item. So don't get worked up about it. I will take every bullet in every sentence that you have, and I will figure out, is this a strategy that you're trying to do, or is this a goal? I'm going to draft you some goals that we will talk about in a spreadsheet. We're going to pull it up on the PowerPoint. I'm going to draft you, based on what you're submitting to me, your strategies. And in this process, I will not delete anything. Everything that you put down, the entire council will see. Does that make sense? I'm not going to aggregate. I'm aggregating, but I'm not fixing it so that you all have some drafts of these things. I want you to see everything that each council member said. And then we will work together to come up with the categories, those goals, and what those different action items are based on those categories. We'll do that. That will be the bulk of our retreat that day. Okay. Any questions on this? I try to make it simple. I really do. I had a blast doing that big project.
I know you do.
So as I'm sitting here, no, it all makes perfect sense.
Okay.
I'm thinking about timelines,
Okay.
and I'm not sure. So you get the information back from us on the 27th. You put it into the black box,
That's right.
juggle it around, coalesce, consensus, whatever you want to call it, and then you present it back to us at the retreat.
Yes.
And so how many hours do you think we're going to need for a retreat? What day of the week? Those types of things.
Yep, I'm really glad you said that. Actually, Emily and I were, I'm just kind of going. Emily and I were talking about it. It looks like the best day is going to be a Saturday for you all.
Yeah.
And it looks like our best actual day is going to be October 26th. Can you know?
Yeah, no. We'll find out.
I got one.
Got me for no, sorry.
All right, well, we'll figure it out.
No, we will, but I already know that. I want to know.
Okay.
November 2nd.
I'm coming back on November 2nd. It doesn't mean I can't participate.
Sure.
It just means I have to be well prepared to participate virtually.
Virtually.
You could do it virtually?
I could.
If that day works for the rest of the council, we can make it virtual. Ideally, it's well before the 20th of November.
No, so
I see.
I could, the 26th would actually be better. I just, we can talk about it, but
Yeah.
I'm out that week.
So virtual participation would be better on the 26th. Because remember, Haymarket Day is the 19th. The weekend prior that is VML conference, and
Yep.
quite a few of you are going to that.
Yep.
So the 26th is ideal if everybody else.
If everybody else can do the 26th, then I will work around the
Does that
26th.
work for you,
You could do
Mr. Mayor?
virtual. Card.
Sorry, where is this going to be at?
Plain.
Well, let's ask, where would you?
Is it gonna be
I
in
will
town?
participate however I need to participate.
Okay.
We can do it through Zoom. I think we'd be fine with that.
That's your flight.
Right, exactly. That's what I
Make sure
need
you
to
have a
figure
good
out.
connection.
Yeah, that's all I need.
So,
Is it local?
yeah, it should be. So what I typically recommend, and typically how my other towns do this, we're gonna plan for a 9 to 4. There, unless Y'all are very different. We should not be attached to. You might be. But I've been doing this for a while. So, but let's plan from 9 to 4. We're gonna plan from lunch from like a 12 to 1-ish. And that will be for you all to kind of build some community. We won't work during the lunch. So I'm thinking 9 to 4, Saturday, October 26th, with the Zoom connection. And where do you want to do this?
Is it okay to do it?
It's fine to
In the
do it
town
here, as long as council is fine with that. You're gonna need to advertise that as a public
Yes.
meeting.
Correct.
Yes. And we'll pull tables out if it's best that we just sit down around each other
You know,
here.
it probably would, that way, yeah, that would be great if we could do that, even if it's in,
Do an L shape, we've done that before.
We
Like a
just
U,
wanna
a
make
U, and
yeah,
U around the screen.
that would be great, that
Okay,
would be great.
I'm making sure I put it in my calendar now.
Youth and government.
The youth and government program is the 28th, 30th.
Okay. So that's
First
right
and
before.
fourth.
I mean, that's right after. Okay.
Busy people.
Okay.
Busy.
We are busy. Good busy.
Okay,
Good,
good.
okay.
Make sure I send it to the bride.
Tracy,
There's no
you'll
issue.
check your flights.
I will check the flights. I know that I am on a flight on that Saturday. I just
9 to 4 to Jordan.
I don't know. Do not know what time my flight is.
She can get
however.
internet on the plane, right?
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Somebody's going to teach me how to do that.
So, because I won't see you all until the 26th of October, if you need more time on this packet, it's absolutely fine. Just let me know if you need a few more days. Is everybody comfortable with this?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So we just talked about this. We've got to figure out the date, time, location, done. I'm gonna aggregate all of your data that you give me. I'm gonna draft, I'm gonna come up with 3 draft mission statements, 3 draft vision statements, 3 draft values, kind of, words. And then I'm gonna take all of your goals and all of your strategies. I am not gonna eliminate anything, and so you will see all of council's responses. It will be anonymous, so you won't know who said what. I mean, maybe you will, but you're gonna see everything. And then we've got our retreat planned, so we can check that slide off. Now,
Good.
we will talk about this, or I can talk about this later, more, whatever you want to do. How are we doing on time? We're great on time.
I'm doing good.
I'd like to tell my towns, kind of, okay, once you get this thing, what are you gonna do with it?
Mhm.
The question that was asked earlier, are you going to get citizen input on your strategic plan? And how are you going to do that? That actually needs to be a new slide on here for you all. Once you've got your citizen input, they give you some feedback, then we're gonna ask that the town council formally adopts that strategic plan. It's your plan, right? You gotta adopt it, you gotta put your stamp on it. Where are you gonna put your strategic plan? We'll make sure there's copies in town hall and the admin building. You'll put it on your social media pages, but you're gonna do that as well to get citizen input. And I just kind of recommend maybe, I'm sure you've got a local paper who would come and sit with you and the mayor could speak about the new strategic plan, whatever you all think, just some ideas to think about. Once you get the strategic plan, we will have worked too hard for this thing to sit on the shelf. So what are you gonna do with it? You're gonna use it with your budget, your CIP process. You're gonna use it when you get new council members on
Excellent.
board, right? One of the things that you will think about is how you want your manager to report on progress. I have Amherst is a great example, small town. She reports to her council every month on the strategic plan action items, okay, every month. Most places don't. They'll report every quarter, every 6 months, or just once a year. So y'all will need to think about that. How do you want that format? Are you gonna use it in the annual evaluation for your manager? And how are you gonna tell your residents that you're actually making progress on these things? That's very exciting. And that could be a once a year annual report, a couple pages, nice flyer, put it out on social media.
Newsletter.
And your newsletter, there you go. Linking it to the budget, we've talked about this a lot. This should be when your finance director and your manager are talking to you all about the budget, we should be able to check out things that are priorities in the budget. And that you're funding them and those sorts of things. How frequently are you gonna update the strategic plan? You all are on a 2-year election cycle.
Yes.
So town Amherst is, somewhere, I can't remember, doesn't matter. You can update your strategic plan every 2 years. And when I say update, many times you're just confirming your mission and your vision if you haven't had a lot of turnover at the council level. And really what we're working on is goals and strategies. So for that community, I go back every 2 years. I go back in February, we review their goals and strategies, make any kinds of changes, and we go on for the next 2 years. So they envision, and this, I'm just using this as an example, and I think it's a good one. They envision that strategic plan and what they're trying to accomplish in their 2-year election period. So that's why they look at it every 2 years. Now they're still seeing it quarterly and annually, but really coming together to update it every 2 years.
Do you have a follow-up fee or?
I do, but
Okay.
I'm a cheap date.
And I appreciate that because I am as well. So just,
The big one, which is.
I mean, I say that
Yeah.
like in comedy, but
Right.
I do.
This first process is always a little more
Yeah.
expensive because we're starting from scratch.
Mhm.
But afterwards, it's
Okay.
pretty basic.
Okay.
But I do have I understand it would be a separate project.
Perfect.
So you can see, I asked folks in that report, how often do you update your strategic plan? Annually is about 27%. Every 2 years on election cycles, there it is, about 30%. With each election, about 9%. And then I had a bunch of folks that were a little bit different. So about 35%. Every 3 years, 3 to 5 years, every 5 years. But for a town, I mean, it's just so easy to do this. Do it during after your elections happen. Come back in January or February, confirm what you have, and then that will put you in a position to get ready for the budget season. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Just some kind of key questions. You all can take a look at this. These are questions really for the manager and the staff. You need to tell your manager, this is when we want to update it. Are you gonna need to come up with money to do that? We need to hire a facilitator for the next update. How realistic timeline, that sort of thing. And I love this. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else.
Yep.
Big, big kind of family, so we love you, Sarah.
That's right.
Yep.
Questions?
Yeah, and also with the review of the plan, whether it be yearly, every 2 years, you could also just kind of do it yearly in the sense of a self-check, right? How are we doing? We're not here to update it. We're just making sure that everything's aligning properly. And then maybe do a revamp every 2 years and say, okay, what is new has popped up in town that needs a stronger focus.
And if we've achieved some of our goals, right?
Yeah,
Strike it.
That's
On to
exactly
the next one.
yep.
I don't have any.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, with all this in place, it's a hell of a lot easier to build CIPs and to start to really realize a budget when you do your budget analysis every year.
And that's an important point. When you're talking about budgets, okay, and fiscal prudence, so to speak, I'm a big proponent of tying whatever you're doing back to the strategic business plan and having a funding plan associated with that as well. I mean, we have our budget, but we need to, in other words, plan it all out as best as possible. You're always going to have emergencies, things pop up that you're going to have to deal with. But if you're thinking strategically, you're thinking about all those investments that are going to follow. and you've identified what those numbers are. And, sometimes you'll achieve it, sometimes you might not achieve it.
And I think, you all know this, the money is not unlimited in the town. And so probably many of your discussions during the budget process is how are we going to use the money we do have for what projects? And hopefully this will help guide that decision making. That
Right.
you all determine what is the most important and prioritized, and that's what gets funded first. It should help.
Also, if I may, I don't think any one of us wants our time served to feel like it's fruitless. And so when we are serving on the dais and we are voting and contributing to our community, we don't want to think that our time served has not gone without purpose. So if we can vote and speak and it be forward thinking, I think that that's important.
Good point.
It'll help you if you decide to run for reelection too, because then you can say, here are some of the things that I did, even though the whole council
I mean, that's,
did.
yes. but that was-
So can we just talk a little bit more about timeline? Timeline? So we're going to get together on October 26th,
That's correct.
and we'll have a full day, I guess, brainstorming, barnstorming, whatever you want to call it.
I'm gonna work through, y'all will come out with a mission, a vision, values, goals, and strategies by the end of the 26th.
Okay, I'm a proponent also for looking when you want to have it done and looking back to when you need to start and what the milestones are. So when do we think we would have a document that would be out there for the public to give us feedback on?
I think we want to have it before we went on maternity.
Yes.
Oh, so
And
by
what-
November 20th?
Yeah.
Why do I know that date?
And we will do everything internally to prepare and tee up in the chance I go out early that Roberto is ready to keep it moving.
And
Look
how,
at him. He's like,
and how are we,
With
how do we
excitement.
plan on getting public feedback on this? We're not doing a public announced meeting, are we, or?
That's a really, really good question.
It
if
is.
y'all wanna- So what I've said to Emily is, I can turn this document around to y'all within 7 business days at most, because of so much of the work is done. So if I turn that
I mean,
around
it's
first week in November, what are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
And how does that fit with staff?
So if we hold it to the 26th and we get it 7 working days later, we can
Showcase it and do a brief presentation to the community on November 4th at our town council meeting.
That's what I was thinking.
Which we
And
provide.
Yep, and announce it, put it out there and say, this is how long we want our comment period to be open for. If you guys want to hold a special meeting, a special work session, you could do that and invite people, come to the dais, come speak to us, send your comments in. And then we can always, because our work session actually falls on the week of Thanksgiving this year, we would probably look at moving it up a week. So that might work out that you give them 2 weeks, come talk to us before the holidays get going, give us your feedback on it, and you could really set some dates there with a final adoption. You could do it a month later at your December 2nd meeting. So you could think through some of those dates.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like overall, our goal is to get more community involvement
Mhm.
and feedback. I mean, speaking for myself, not for everybody on the dais, that would be like, I want to see more people coming into town hall. I want to see more citizen time. I want to see more conversations. I will say that. So whatever we need to do. So yes, I want to make it more public, and however we need to get that out there, I think that would be prudent.
And Emily, let me just say, if this is something that you'd like me to come and and facilitate, council can think about that. It may be nice for me to say, look, citizens, this is what everyone's done as a neutral third party, it's up to you all. We can work that out.
Okay.
So just think about that.
But we also have, man,
Mhm.
we also have farmer's market. Well, farmer's market is not closed until
Over
right before Thanksgiving.
The
So
10th.
we have our town tent where we can still talk about it.
And I don't know if it would be, and Stephanie, maybe you can weigh in on this. Haymarket Day is the week before our retreat, and it's something where we have thousands of people come out. Is it worth putting something at our booth that says, hey, coming soon, we'll have this strategic plan presented at this upcoming meeting, come out and speak with us. And maybe it's something we can put out there printed wise. As Roberta's saying, the only thought on that is we do have so many outside members that do come to that event though. Is it more beneficial to go through more in-town internal communications than advertising to the greater?
Yeah, but
That's really up to y'all.
yeah, I think the turnout is so great though. That's probably your best turnout of town members as well.
Absolutely.
And if you need me to step up my talk with the mayor program, I can come out, weekly during that time as opposed to once a month. So
Sounds like an opportunity.
So
That's
can
stuff.
y'all
Yeah.
help me walk through these dates just so you all can hear and I can hear? So November 4th is when they would need a draft of the strategic plan. Then they would hold a work session the week before Thanksgiving.
So if planning commission is, okay, so planning commission moved to the 12th, yes. So Monday, the 18th of November is open for a work session meeting if council was willing to move it up a week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. Then you could hold a work session meeting, having people come out and specifically say in that we are accepting public comment at this meeting,
On the
since we
4th.
normally don't at our work session,
18th.
the 18th.
Okay.
And that would be 2 weeks after we had presented and showcased it out to the community on the 4th. And then if that's acceptable, you can look at a 2-week later turnaround of an adoption. Is that too soon?
I don't think it is.
And then you could have an adopted plan by
December.
December 2nd at your regular council meeting.
All right. I'll be the first to say, I feel like it's more important to have public input. So if we need to adjust our schedule in order to have public input, that would be my vote.
And I think as long as council agrees on how we're putting it out there, we can advertise it, we can ask, but, the citizens also have to do their part to come in.
100%. But it needs to be given
Yep.
opportunity.
Absolutely.
Make some decisions on like maybe our traffic sign going out in front, promoting this over the time period that this will be available. Just getting the word out.
I know that I've worked with staff to compile HOA contacts. Would it serve us to send this document to the HOAs to advertise to the residents in like a more grassroots community piece, since they should have their residents' contacts for the HOA?
Yep.
And at least that would cast a wide net, but a more intimate wide net, like separate.
Yeah, if that's possible, because HOA is usually a monthly organization, right? Or some are even not even monthly.
Some HOAs would advertise
special
this
notice.
as like a special notice, like this impacts you,
Yeah,
heads
on
up,
their
reach out to.
neighborhood
the clerk.
website or something.
Mhm.
Email blast and send it out to
Yeah.
all our members. That's what we
Right,
do.
yeah. So, is there a community in town that we do not have? And if so, I'm happy to help staff secure that however necessary.
Alex and I'll look at our list to make
Okay.
sure and we'll reach out to you.
My neighborhood, right? We don't have an HOA.
And
so-
Sure.
You know, we would do our other standard methods that we've been doing lately. We could do a separate mailer flyer that goes out well before the 4th that has, you know, this is coming up on the 4th, will be presented at your next meeting on the 18th. This is when you can come and speak and give your feedback and comments on it. And then this is the plan to a proposed adoption night of December 2nd. Go ahead.
Could we put the sandwich board
Sandwich
out
board. Mhm.
a little earlier?
Yep, we can do that. We have the app now that Julia's facilitating all of the notifications going out on our social media pages.
Will there be a newsletter sent out between now and then?
We were just talking about that. So the newsletter will go out in October, but we were thinking if we did a separate mailer that really, it would draw attention and focus on just that one topic.
Is
that
it
that
a
would
way
be-
to like make the mailer or like it, because it won't make the newsletter. Is it a way to make the flyer that we
Sure.
mail out attractive and like attention grabbing, like nice, ooh, pretty, like for like the mission and vision and things to grab attention? Because if it's just a letter, people are probably going to be like,
No, it
Or
wouldn't be
something
just a
like an-
full
skim
letter.
through it, but just like be attractive.
An
Yes.
insert with a QR code.
Yeah.
To our
Okay.
website,
That-
you
We'll
know,
figure that out.
that's, yeah. Don't want to drag this out, so.
But the timeline is doable. I mean, that's the big question.
Mhm.
As long as we get our homework to you by the 27th.
Yeah. I mean, the big challenge is gonna be not the big challenge, the tight deadline is gonna be the 26th to the 4th.
Retreat.
That's gonna be the big one.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what.
I was gonna ask you about including goals that we may, or priorities that we may not be able to achieve within the next 2 to 4 years, right?
Mhm.
Should we be including such goals?
I think you should.
Yep.
We should.
And
Okay.
let-
If you're
and let
passionate
council-
about them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and let council decide, you know, you might be able to break it up. You might be able to break it up into pieces.
Right.
Or we say that's
Stage
more of a long-term goal, leave it, anything, put it on there.
I would agree. I think we need to be unconstrained
That's
and then you'll bring
Whatever
it,
you want.
bring it in.
And you're-
I mean, one good example is the public parking option, right?
Mhm.
That's one of our priorities, but we don't know whether or not it's achievable, right?
Right.
So that's what I was trying
Yeah.
to,
I would
Yeah.
put the wish list out there.
wish list out there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like brainstorming at home.
That's exactly right. Y'all have fun with
Kid with
this.
a JCPenney catalog at Christmas.
Cool.
Well, yeah, and also
Sounds like fun.
we're setting the groundwork,
Going forward.
right?
We're not going
Strategic
back.
planning for,
You stepped this up and
Yeah.
did it in almost an hour,
What I
no,
was thinking.
we're not going back.
quicker than you expected.
And I think it was.
Should have worn with Conway.
Council, I was just kind of thinking through, we're a small enough town
Mhm.
that we can order some yard signs as well. So we can get something branded notification wise, and then we can make some yard signs. If you guys are worried about people throwing away the mailers and, I mean, Mayor's neighborhood, we'll go stick them on, the street.
Just
Cause we do
Give me
have
a
that
sign, I'll put it
issue.
in my front yard.
We do have that issue of people throw stuff away, but we could put some at the park. We can put some at the front of the neighborhoods as people are coming and going that say, strategic
Again, I would-
planning in case they don't come by the sandwich board every day.
would use what we have, which is our farmer's market.
I would,
Utilize that natural advertisement but yes, I think that we
It's-
should do that.
yeah, it's clunky, but like I said, visibility, the traffic sign
Mhm.
right on the corner. That would be very noticeable.
I think that overall, we want community involvement.
Absolutely.
I feel
Absolutely. That's critical.
like over the course of the past 4.5 years. That's literally what we've been trying to do.
Okay. Two
Okay.
thumbs up.
So to
I'm
I
excited.
think we got a path forward.
I just have to figure out how to participate since I'll be on a flight.
So
We'll get you there.
yeah, we just need to know your flight.
Flight and-
I am trying to figure it out, actually.
Are there any other questions that you guys have?
At this point,
Anything else?
I'm excited.
What I was gonna say, Emily, is I think we've had some success with doing social media-based surveys, right?
Mhm.
So to garner some sort of interest, I think we can possibly put out some questionnaires, related questionnaires in relation to goals and priorities and so forth, right? And then tie it somehow to the strategic planning and
So what you could do, once you've worked through that retreat on the 26th, you'll have your goals. You could ask your, I'm just throwing this out, citizens, what's your most important priority? And list your goals and let them prioritize the goals. Just
Okay.
After
So
we
rather
set
than-
the
That's
goals.
correct.
Okay.
So that's kind of like a hybrid between informing and consulting.
That's correct.
Yeah, essentially. I paid attention, yes. Okay.
I actually stole that from somebody else.
Yeah. That was very helpful.
Yeah,
I feel like it's really important that we as a council consult. Obviously, we were elected to do so, but we also need to always ask what's important, right?
That would be very simple. to do.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, we were elected, but we're also supposed to be,
we work
Hearing.
for the people, huh?
right?
All I know is Roberto's going to be very busy.
Roberto would be okay.
writing checks.
We don't have money.
And it wasn't from me.
The priorities are not gonna be funded.
Okay. No, this is good.
That's great.
Good start.
Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thrilled.
So glad you could make it. Thank you.
And I'll send
Yep.
everybody good reminders this week, next week, and the week of the 27th to get this in on time, because
Yeah.
you don't
And the
want us
timeline?
to
Did
track
you-
it down.
No.
Did you lay
I'll
out the
put a
timeline?
timeline together. I'll send you
Yep.
all meeting invites as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And then I will get with Marchant and Matt Gallagher.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
absolutely.
Very
No,
excited.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
and-
appreciate your energy.
Yeah. I like this stuff.
Super.
Yeah, I know you did.